Are you ready for cocktails and conversations? Are you ready for cocktails and conversations? Are you ready for cocktails and conversations? With your host, the unapologetic diva, Dr. G, the girlfriend therapist, Dr. Cortina Lewis, and the networking extraordinaire, Diana Richardson Philippus. Are you ready for cocktails and conversation? This is Herspiration Happy Hour. Happy Hour. Happy Hour.
Happy Wednesday and welcome to another episode of Herspiration Happy Hour, Season 8, Episode 17. This is your unapologetic diva, Dr. G.
This is Dr. Cortina Lewis, a.k.a. the girlfriend therapist.
This is Diana Richardson Philippus, a.k.a. your networking extraordinaire.
And yours truly, Shay Walker, the coach of courage.
All right. And Cortina, do you have a drink for us today, or are we just sipping on water?
No, I do have a drink that's inspired because you know what I was thinking? I just, these last few weeks have just been not good for me. And I really don't like to be the person, you know how you ask somebody how they doing, and it's always something negative. But I just had a series of unfortunate events over these last few weeks. And so I was like, you know what, let me find a drink that symbolizes, overcoming. So today's drink is inspired by my tale of unfortunate events. It's called Unbreakable Spirit. And so this drink is going to have a bold amber color with a citrus twist. So that represents warmth, strength, and being vibrant after the storm has passed. So what you're going to do is you're going to have 1.5 ounces of bourbon that symbolizes strength and grounding. You're going to have 0.7 ounces of April. And what that's going to represent is, life struggles and rewards, because in life things ebb and flow. You're going to have 0.5 ounces of lemon juice, and we know yellow represents clarity, so that's fresh clarity. Then you're going to have 0.5 ounces of honey syrup, and so that's for soothing perseverance, because honey is a healing and a soothing agent. And then you're going to have a dash of orange bitters, because that's from the depths of tough moments, because in life there are tough moments that you're going to have to overcome. And how do you get through those bitter times? So what you want to do is shake all of those together, and you want to shake with ice until chilled. And then you want to pour it in a rock glass. And if you really want to get fancy, because I like fancy, you can either rim the glass with smoked salt. And what that does is that represents the grit and grime it takes to keep going.
Okay. I love it. And I feel like it's on time, given that it is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I definitely wanted to have some conversations about just, enforcing boundaries. Sorry, y'all, this dog's getting on my nerves. Breaking barriers to, just prioritizing your mental health and what that actually takes, or what that even looks like. And some of the hardest things to do is to prioritize your own mental health. I mean, Cortina, you've just also been extremely busy, where it's hard to even put yourself first, because you've had so many other things going on with Morgan. And I even think about myself when I'm still working. I had my medical, I had a car accident. I just had all kinds of things. And I just felt like, you know what? I don't have time to be sick. So these are just conversations that I really wanted to have, is like, what would it take to break the barriers of saying that we have to always be at 100, and kind of just like putting ourselves on the back burner every single time. So is there a balance to where we become less fearful about things falling apart because we choose to fall apart in those moments?
I think you have to know when it's time to keep persevering and when it's time to stop. Because when life happens, life is going to happen. In all of the situations where things are not going the way that we would like it, we can't just always stop, right? Some things you got to be able to persevere through. That's how you find strength. That's how you have courage. That's how you overcome challenges and things. But on the balance side, you have to be able to know, okay, this is not about persevering in this moment. This is about rest. This is about peace. This is about making sure that I am taking the adequate time to rest and relax so I can persevere during those challenging times. So I think there's a delicate balance in knowing yourself and what is appropriate for you at that time. Like there are times where I'll be like, okay, I need to cancel clients because I can't do it. Like I physically know I cannot show up in that moment. It would be crazy of me to keep going and see clients because I'm doing them a disservice. I'm really not giving them the adequate honor to be able to hear what it is that they're going through. And then there are times I might not feel good, but I don't feel like in that moment it's going to make me any less of a clinician because I'm not feeling good in that moment. And so I think that comes with learning yourself, knowing your needs. But in order to get there, you have to take time to get to know what those needs are. And so that's just my take on it.
Okay. Diana, you over there shaking your head like, okay.
Oh, no, because I'm listening to her and I agree, you know, especially Cortina, when you say, you know, there's a delicate balance between your body really being like, no, we can't do this. Like, I don't feel well. It's time for me to go sit down. And then just having a moment where you're like, I don't feel like it, but we got to press because we know we need to. So I think, you know, again, it's all about knowing yourself. Also, it's also about creating space for yourself to rest on purpose. I had to learn that the hard way. And I would work until a migraine would shut me down. And then that was my form of rest, not the type of rest that I want, you know, but then my body would tell me, nope, now you get to lay in the bed for 2 days and get yourself together since you didn't want to listen to the gentle nudges. But then after I really started doing a deep dive with myself, to myself and for myself and creating balances and boundaries for me, when, okay, Diana, when I know I have something major coming up, all right, we're going to make sure that we are working, being diligent, distraction free as much as I can, because, you know, life is always lifing at the same time. And I get it done, but I also create that time for myself where, hey, we're going to go get some rest, because working without rejuvenation is a recipe for disaster. That's all I got for that one.
Shay?
Mindfulness and self-awareness is super, super important. Being honest with how you feel and not trying to emotionally manipulate yourself into believing you can keep going when you don't need to keep going, like pushing yourself beyond what you can really do. I'm totally guilty of that. That used to be a past behavior. And I mean, I submit and give myself permissions to take naps. Like if I need a nap, I need a nap, and I will stop in my tracks and I will take a nap unapologetically. You know, I've even gotten to a point, since I'm an independent contractor with working for other people, if I can't push, I won't push. I will not push. You know, I wear this skin, and it is a constant, gentle reminder that I've pushed myself beyond my bounds many, many times for such a long time. This vitiligo reminds me that it saved my life, you know, because I pressed so hard before and my body responded this way instead of me having a massive stroke. When I went to see my physician, you know, when he told me, he literally told me that my heart at that time, it showed a pattern of an 84-year-old military, like retired military vet's heart, where it's pumping and it should have stopped a long time ago. And that scared me. Like how he described that to me just pumped so much fear in my heart. But he was like, look at it this way. And so this vitiligo derived from a place of overwork, being overcommitted, stress, all those things. I would ignore the migraines. I would ignore the back pains, and I would just keep pushing, not realizing that I needed to sit down, but I felt like I couldn't sit down because if I stopped, what would happen? I felt like the world would cave in, and I didn't really have anyone because I was single with the kids by myself in a state where there was no family. I was in Maryland for 9 years with my family, with just the kids. And so I had to keep going because without me, what would happen? So I'm just constantly practicing mindfulness and being aware of what's really happening to me. What's happening with me? Do I need to take a nap? I love you guys, but I'm going to bed. I'll see you in the morning, and I don't have the pressure of, I'll call it peer pressure to just keep pushing. I want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to kill myself. I don't want to be, it's not time for me to do that. So honoring myself. Yeah. I almost got teary-eyed just then because, man, like there's a lot of healing in that to unpack that. If you've been a grinder, and I've been a grinder all my life, I've been a go-getter, I've been a grinder, I've had the pressure of people saying that I wouldn't amount to anything on top of the grind, like all of those things. And so getting to a place where you hear somebody say, you know what, you could have died had this not happened, that just hit different.
Yeah. That's the hard thing, is realizing that you cannot be everything for everybody, and be nothing for yourself. And I even say, for me, I'm going to show up 100% for myself. I'm not giving myself 50%. I'm not giving myself 30%. I'm going to give myself 100% of who I am to myself, because one, I just feel like, I don't know, I'm moving into my soft girl era. I don't really I'm on my own time. And I don't want to pressure myself to feel like I have to continually achieve. At where I'm at in my life, I've achieved a lot to be proud of. And so now it's like, what matters to me most right now is being able to just live the way I want to, and let that be less about work. I want to be more about, that's what I said, I'm more about making my memories, but at the same time, I'm putting boundaries in place, because even after being on antibiotics for fucking 15 days will make you reprioritize your life, and even slow down even then. So I live in this place where I'm going to put up extra boundaries, because, sometimes I do go a little bit hard, but I had to put up boundaries for myself. And not many times do we look at doing that. Like, okay, what are my own boundaries for myself, or how much I am willing to push myself? How much am I willing to give? Because nobody can't force you to give anything. You have to give it up willingly. And I'm choosing not to give up who I am willingly, not even to myself, when I feel like I know I need to do this, but I'm tired and I'm on my own time. So when you and Diana, you and I talk about this, just about being creative. When you took the break from social media, you was like, I'm tired. I just don't want to do anything. And it helped you.
And just was like,
yes,
that's it, folks. See y'all in about 6 months. And people was calling like, are you okay? Is everything? I'm just fine. I'm relaxing and I'm rejuvenating. And I think sometimes, I'm just going to say it. When you really build trust, not just with yourself and knowing yourself and those boundaries, but when you have trust with your higher power, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you trust him to order your steps, then you're not worried, and that's not to say that we're not supposed to prepare when you've done the work and you get to a point where you're like, oh, I just need to sit down. But to your point, Pam, like, oh, what if, or you too, Shay, when you were like, oh, but what if I stop? What if you do? Because if you trust the higher power, then you know that you can. I mean, I've been there, especially around the time of my conferences. Lord have mercy, Lord, I'll be burnt all the way out. Do you hear me? Every year, it's crazy. And I have to take days like, just go sit down. Just go sit down, Diana. Go sit down. And guess what? Everything is just fine. And I had to get to a point where I'm just trusting and knowing that everything is going to be fine. And I think that's a fine line with a lot of people, because as human beings, sometimes we don't want to trust. We say we love them, you know.
Yeah.
But then when it's time to hand over, okay, here you go. Then it's like, well, wait a minute. I still want to hold it just a little bit. No, you got to go ahead and lay it down, and then go lay yourself down and get some rest.
Can I also say this? You know, we talk about rest a lot, but I think sometimes enforcing boundaries has nothing to do with you needing rest. I think it's also about you connecting with yourself and the things that you enjoy and the things that you like. So I think a part of mental health and taking care of yourself and having that mental wellness is to establish the boundaries so that you can find who you are and what you love outside of sleep and rest and work and kids and husbands or boyfriends or girlfriends or whatever. I think, to me, it takes being able to break through your own fears of to be alone, to do things alone. I know a lot of people that say, oh, I'm not going to dinner by myself. I'm not going to the movies by myself. To me, you find out a lot about yourself and how much you don't rely on other people for your own joy and for your own happiness. And you just connect differently with yourself, and you start to realize some of the joys that you really have. And I'll say that from experience, that before, you know, at one time, probably up until I was in my mid 30s, I felt like I really liked what other people liked because I did not really like myself. That's when I was kind of toxically trying to figure out who I am, you know, and all of those things. And that's what I wrote about. It's like not realizing how toxic I was on the inside because I never really wanted to deal with me. And when I did, and I got to spend that time alone, I tell people I'm never lonely. I always have stuff to do. I learned that I love to cook, and was cooking everything. I was living by myself, cooking. My mom used to always say, who are you cooking for? Cooking for yourself. And I'm still cooking. And I still have that habit right now. You all know I love cooking. And so I learned how to intentionally date myself, where I feel like I'm going to get dressed up, go out and look nice, and I'm going to wine and dine myself, because I feel like, and I've said this before, I think I was on, I was doing a speaking engagement. I was doing a panel, a fireside chat. And I said, I show up for myself like I show up if I'm going out with my girlfriends, my boyfriend, my husband, whatever you want to call it. That's how I'm going to show up. So if I'm willing to dress up for them, him, a girl's night, a brunch, I owe it to myself to dress up and take myself out and treat myself well.
Girl, I would take myself to dinner in a heartbeat. I used to go out by myself. Do you hear me? Like straight outside. We outside alone. Because if it was something that I really wanted to do, and I got over that in my early 30s, to be honest, because I was fearful of that in my 20s. Like I always wanted to be with the girls, or, you know, with my boyfriend or whatever at the time. And I just got to a point where I was like, am I really going to let other people stop me from doing what I want to do? Like, that sounds absurd. Yeah. It really does. I take myself out for drinks now if somebody don't want to go.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Quick fast. And be like, okay, I'm gone. 2 sheets to the wind. And 2 sheets to the wind. Because I know what makes me happy. You know, and when I want to do something for Diana, like I just went and took a Pilates class, y'all, on Friday. I've been wanting to take Pilates for like years. And I finally went and did it. I love it. You guys, if you haven't heard about Pilates, go try one. It's really good. Did that, met up with a friend for a late lunch, like it. And I've been doing things like this for the last couple of weekends because I'm being intentional about doing things for me and not just work and washing clothes, and y'all get around. Yeah. So yes, you do have to be intentional about you and show up for you.
Yeah. I think it makes me a much better friend the fact that I've gotten to know myself so well and what I love, because you can introduce your friends to the things that you love, and sometimes they grow to love those things.
Yeah. And you never know who you might meet. I mean, look at me and you. We met at a conference and we were alone.
Oh, that's true. At the bar.
We went to the conference and I had reservations, like, damn, I'm going to this conference, but okay. You know, like, here I am. And look what happened.
And
We were in Puerto Rico having this conversation about being away from your spouse. I told you in the very beginning, because Alton asked me. Now, everybody in this world knows that I love that Alton Walker, honey. Okay. Love me some him. He is bae. In the very beginning of our relationship, we had these conversations about, okay, so what do you need from me to do, this. And obviously we were breaking down barriers. We were working through what could have been considered like insecurities and, trust, and just breaking those barriers down as we're getting to know each other. Because remember, we were married in 65 days of knowing each other. And we knew in our hearts that this is what we wanted, but obviously we needed to have those conversations so that I can get to know you. And as we grow, we're going to get to know more of each other. So what do you need from me to make sure that you're comfortable? These are the kind of questions that he posed very early on. And I said, well, number one, I love my me time. It's very important to me. I love the beach. I love to be able to, I'm Dora the Explorer when it comes to life. I am a butterfly. I'm free as a bird. And you have to trust that. You have to get to know that you can trust me in that capacity. I will turn the GPS off and I will just go on a whole adventure. And then I came back and said, oh, I found A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, and Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. And he'd be like, and you did all that. Yep, sure did. But that's who I am. And I've always been this way. And that is a boundary. As much as I love my husband, and I'm speaking to the women, like the people that are in relationships right now, I need you to understand that you have an identity beyond your spouse, beyond your children, beyond your responsibilities at work. You have an identity beyond those things. And it's important to keep your cup full and not to allow anyone in the glass with you. The glass is for you. The overflow is for everyone else. And so understanding the importance of keeping your cup full means that you have to acknowledge what you need and announce what you need to the people that you love so that they can love you properly. Because if not, you leave breeding ground for resentment. And then before you know it, when you guys do have those little moments of you having a spat, you are attacking them with those emotions that you've been harboring, feeling like, well, all I do is do this for you. All I do is that for you. And, that's the enemy's playground, especially when it comes to marriages. That's where the enemy gets to come in and shake stuff up because you didn't communicate what you needed. And it's no one's fault. You didn't know how to communicate it. Or maybe you were afraid, you dealt with some type of something there, and you had fear maybe that your spouse wouldn't receive it the right way. But these are all things that I'm actually helping some other people break down right now in their relationships, because what I realized is that, it's not even about not being able to communicate. It's about having a fear to tell somebody what you actually need, because you're afraid to acknowledge what you need yourself. You need to have alone time. You need to be comfortable being alone, taking yourself to dinner, going to get your nails done, doing all those things by yourself. Even if it says you need a mini vacation, you need a spa weekend to just be by yourself to decompress and process all your feelings, all the things that you're feeling outside of your husband, outside of your wife, outside of the children. And these can be kind of tough things to navigate. It's not easy to say, I don't want to be with you this weekend. I need time to myself. There's a way to say that, but you definitely need to be able to communicate that to the person that you love, to the people you love. so they can love you the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also, Cortina, did you want to say something?
No.
Because I was short. I'm going to be short. She like, no. I think that you also have to know, Shay, like when you're saying like it's to communicate to your partner and knowing yourself. You know, if you are a high-spirited, vibrant person, outgoing, it's important that
It's Mr. Walker.
okay.
Always Mr. Walker.
Like, wait a minute. But it's important that you keep that identity. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's you. And anyone that is going to be a part of your life needs to accept that about you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to add that.
I agree.
Cortina, did you have anything? You're just trying to hold back from coughing over there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? I will say this. Shay, you mentioned about not allowing anyone else in your cup to keep it full. I think the overflow is for everyone else. I so agree with that. And the only reason why I say that is you have to be careful if anybody does pour anything into your cup because they have an opportunity to poison you. This is why I believe that the overflow is really made for everyone else. And so you continue to fill your cup with things that feel good to you. And again, the way that you show up will be just different. The things that you will attract will just be different. And you also have to learn how to cut some conversations off. I mean, you know, it's one thing to have someone to constantly complain or constantly have problems, but sometimes you have to be honest with yourself to say, this is not my mood today. This is not what I need for me today, because you don't know what someone is struggling with. And I'm not an empath anyway, but people who are really can take those things on and then it manifests in other ways. So you do have to be careful that if you are the type of person that requires someone to pour into your cup as opposed to filling it yourself, you got to be careful that it's not poison being dumped in there, because the spirit never lies. And sometimes we are really good about ignoring it. And like, you know, Diana, to your point about having that higher power and believing in that and walking in that discernment, you are definitely going to have to constantly reinforce those barriers. You're going to have to tear down those. You got to really eliminate the narrative that say you have to show up for somebody just because they showed up with you at that moment in time, because there's a time and a place for everything. And while you want to be everything for everybody, is just not possible in some of those moments. That's why, Cortina, I commend you that you say, you know what, if I cannot give, I'm not going to provide care. Mm-hmm. And there are some therapists out there that just say, I'm going to push through it no matter what. And then there's that disconnect. And especially if you have a new patient, I know that I have had therapists that I just could not connect with. And I felt like no matter what I was saying, they just could not connect with me. And so it was easier to spend that session lying than being honest.
I remember I had a therapy appointment at a juncture in my marriage. And I was, you know, speaking candidly. I wanted to go to therapy. And she told me, this is the first therapy session. Oh, well, maybe you should just divorce him. And then yawned. That was the last time I ever went. I was looking at her like, what? Like, is this chick crazy?
That's crazy.
The way I would have said, don't even invoice me, hun, because this is not what I was here for.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was. I didn't think she was. I don't want to say it out loud, but it just.
Was she white?
I'm not here to pass judgment on the color
I just asked if she was white.
She was.
Okay.
Because as therapists, we don't give advice. We don't tell you what you're supposed to do. We lay out the options in front of you. We say, because I tell my clients, even if let's just say I know for myself, and my patient done said to me 5 times, no, I'm not going to go back. There's no judgment if they come to me on the 5th session and be like, you know what? I went back, okay, well, let's talk about it. How is this going to help you? How is this going to harm you? How is this in alignment with how you want for your life to go? And we talk about the alignment, because you are going to know from the processing we're doing. I'm not going to need to tell you anything. You're going to feel it. And it's going to make you either take action or you're going to stay stuck. And if therapy is about growth, you're going to have a responsibility to move forward, or you're just going to stay stuck. And then I'm going to hold you accountable and say, hey, you said you wanted this to happen. You said this is where you want it to go based on the decisions you're making in your life. What does that say to you? And so I'm not telling you to stay. I'm not telling you to leave. That's not my job. My job is to help provide you with clarity so you can make the best decision for yourself. That was crazy that therapist told you.
Yeah, and it was really communication.
Yeah.
I mean, not to put my business on. Well, I mean, I'm real. It was
Okay.
communication issues that were going. And I was just like, well, that was severe. That was all the way over there. I'm just
It is a lot.
I couldn't believe it.
But that's the thing. So let's talk about this for a minute and unpack a little bit about, because it is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this is a great time to check in. Actually, May is my month to do pretty much everything, from mammograms to wellness, physicals, well woman checks. And I think that we need to kind of shift that narrative a little bit, that you have to wait till you're in the full swing of anything to go to therapy. You literally, and I'm sure you all have heard me say this a lot of times, and I'm going to continue to say it. If you are going for your annual physical, make a part of your physical a mental wellness check. Check in with a therapist. For the most part, if you have insurance, you can at least get 5 or 6 sessions for free, and just have a copay. And if it's out of pocket, it might be one of the best investments that you can ever make. You don't have to have anything wrong. Sometimes it is just good to literally decompress.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so that check-in is necessary, because we suppress so much that we can sit down in a chair, and next thing you know, we're talking about things that we did not even know affect us.
And to all the coaches, mentors, therapists, all of that in between, you partner with somebody too, and you check in with yourself, because the worst thing to be is someone that's expected to sharpen and coach and mentor, and your cup is becoming more and more empty, and before you know it, you're pouring from, you're not even pouring at this point, you're just operating on fumes, and there is nothing available for you, because you haven't accepted that, what you need. Iron sharpens iron. Iron sharpens iron. Yeah. And so understand, get with that concept. You need to be sharpened as well, so that you can continue to be equipped to do the things that God gifted you to be able to do. Right?
Yeah.
It's super important for that.
And then let me also say this, and it's no offense to any coaches out there, but you're not a therapist. Understand your role. Unless you are a therapist and a coach, like our resident girlfriend therapist here, don't go in thinking that you can unpack something and be able to clinically be able to put it back.
Yeah.
There are a lot, I see it all the time online. There are a lot of coaches that pose as and to realms of therapy, and given just the.
Are you speaking in regards to life coaching?
I'm saying anyone who is coaching, and they're crossing the line, life coaching, whatever you want to call it. There sometimes is a very fine line when certain conversations come up.
Yeah.
And they still persevere through certain conversations. I've heard it. And I'm always taken back. I mean, my background was, before I was doing anything else, I was doing mental health. And so my ears always raise when sometimes there are conversations when, I'm in spaces where people are talking, and they're talking about they're a coach, and they're having conversation, and somebody is now talking about things that they should be bringing to a therapist, not a coach. And so, and the coach is just taking this all in. Oh, come on and book with me because the money is good. Well, in a I think I know all too well, and also know personally about suicide and what that looks like. Because when you're around the Army base and you got people coming back from deployments and not knowing how to decompress, and at the time the Army was not real keen about therapy, which is why I had to leave the field. It burned me out. But there's just still, I always let people know that when people are ready to go, you're just not going to know sometimes. But then if you also know how to tap into certain conversations, you never know what you are going to prevent. And so as a coach, sometimes you have to be careful about what you unpack during a coaching session, because it just naturally might come up. And understand where that boundary lies, to say, well, you know what, I here's my recommendation to you. I would get a therapist. Coaches should have some therapists on hand that they know and are comfortable with passing people off to, even if it's just for another referral. So I'm saying this because this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I don't want people to lose sight that there are therapists who actually treat for all kinds of conditions, or just treat for natural wellness and for change and understanding how to navigate different life changes. So, sometimes the investment that you might need might not only just be a life coach, but you might get exactly what you need from a therapist. So if you are fearful because therapy is kind of taboo sounding in your community or in your house, saying you have a coach is not going to help you get you the change and growth that you actually need. So that's just me on my soapbox. Again, I'm not knocking any coach. I'm just saying I'm speaking on this month being Mental Health Awareness Month, and I am advocating and pushing for mental health therapy, not coaching sessions. So I just want to be very clear on that.
I think that's important. Because and that's where some things mix up too, because there are some people that don't want to go to therapy because they feel, I don't know if you all heard about the girl, she was like so excited to work with this. I don't know if she was a celebrity, but she posted it, right? In therapy, we have certain guidelines that we have to adhere by, or you will lose your license. So when it comes to HIPAA and confidentiality, we are held to a much higher standard than coaches are. Like, there's no regulatory body for coaches. That's why you have anybody can be a coach. I mean, it's not a regulated field. And so a lot of times when those things happen, lay people just think, oh, therapy coach is all combined into one. So when you have situations where someone discloses something in a public way, I think the therapists get the fallback of that. Like, see, I went to go talk to somebody about my stuff, and my business is out there. And it's like, I'm almost 90% sure you did not go to a licensed person, because we work too hard for our license in order for it to be taken just like that. Now, I'm not saying that everybody don't take it seriously, because there are some people that they do some questionable things, but really being aware of who you are seeing and the reason why you are seeing them. We all have our place: healers, therapists, coaches, intunists, empaths, whatever they are. Everybody has their place. Make sure you know what their limitations of confidentiality is, so that you feel secure when you go to open up. Because if you are more aware about what's allowed, what's not allowed, what we can share, what we can't share, then you can have that peace of mind and be more comfortable with being vulnerable. For example, if somebody came to me, I only need to disclose if someone is imminent danger, saying I'm going to go murder this person and it's an identified person, or there's a protected class involved: senior citizens, protected individuals, and children. Outside of that, if you came and told me 2 weeks ago I murdered somebody, who am I going to report that to? It's in the past. It's not happening, so there's nobody for me to warn. So there's certain, and making sure when you see someone, you know your limitations, your guidelines, and you're able to communicate that to the client. So they're like, oh, shoot, this is almost like lawyer type of privilege here. Yeah, it's a very high privilege, but with other type of professions, they don't get that type of protection as it relates to records. I don't even know if they keep records. Probably don't. I have no idea. It just depends on that particular coach or healer or spiritual in tune or anything like that. But I think just being aware of the healer, because we're all healers, the healer you are selecting depending on what it is that you want to talk about. And a good coach will tell you, hey, you might need to go heal this first and then come back and see me, because this is outside of my wheelhouse. Like, you need to process some stuff. I'm not here to process with you. I'm here to push you. I'm here to encourage you. I'm here to make you from good to great, not to start from the beginning where you really need to purge some of that stuff out of you. So if you feel like you need to purge and you're going to a coach and they're not pushing you in that direction, you might want to reevaluate.
You know, I'm going to add this because this is so vital, and I have to share it because I know there are so many people. Did you guys notice that it became a really big thing when COVID hit, right? Like, coaches started coming out of the wazoo, right? I decided to go to this, I'll call it a gathering, because I can't say it was a seminar. I can't say it was we're just going to say a gathering. And I went because I'm very analytical. And I study things, and I'm looking at behaviors, and I like to identify what's really going on here. And I got there, almost 75% of the coaches were high.
Well, who?
Were high.
Like you mean like
smoking marijuana. Yeah,
okay.
high. And so you develop this sense of, let's just say, heightened awareness. And now you've given yourself this title of, this is what my capability is. I'm an intuitive, spiritual healer. I'm whatever you want to call that. And now you've formulated this beautiful website, this platform, this thing. And you out here showing terrible stewardship over the people that really do need some help. They really need assistance. But you're in it for the wrong, because you had a moment, you smoked some good weed and it was a good day for you to give all of the feedback that you gave to the people, but you're inconsistent. And now you're coveting the people that have entrusted you with themselves because of the financial gain. And these people out here all over the place. They're an emotional train wreck. You did more damage than any good because you showed poor stewardship over this thing this gift that you had for a brief moment, because that's what happens. You get high, you tap into a whole nother dimension, and then you come down and it's like, oh, wait, I'm not high anymore. So now how are you going to continue to develop this thing? But people are doing it for monetizing purposes. But what about the people? You're hurting the people. You are hurting them. You are causing harm.
Well, what kind of weed was they smoking to take them on this high to feel like they can heal people? Like what was that?
You know, when some people be smoking weed, they get deeply philosophical and be going like extra, like they can heal the world and kumbaya and everything. Where do you get that
weed from?
I don't know. I'm like, I haven't seen that.
That's my point. So, but these things are happening. These things are actively happening.
Okay.
They're actively happening, and it's horrible. You look, I know my place. I know my place as a coach. I can discern enough to say, no, this is something different. And I have a list of people that I have a resource list that I can lead you in the right direction. And then when you elevate to that place, then I'm this person. Because you starting out, let's just say with me, the coach of courage, I'm an accountability coach. I give you the strategy to accept accountability, set boundaries, and get in motion. Anything beyond that, that's not for me to unpack with you. You need therapy. You need therapy to unpack that. I can't do that for you. But a lot of people won't own listen, this is my boundary right here. I am not here for financial gain. I'm here because I'm gifted and equipped to do this particular thing. I specialize in this thing. Anything outside of this realm, I ain't got nothing for that. Everything else is going to be going on my personal experiences and all those things. And just because I went through it doesn't mean that that's the thing that's going to get you over your thing that you're dealing with. Honey, you better call Cortina because I ain't got it.
You know what? I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say two things. I'm grateful. I had a really great life coach Vaughn. Shout out, honey. I'm gonna tell you what I loved about her most is that she was married to a therapist. So she already knew. Yeah. So there was never any kind of conversation where, either if I feel like comfortably, if something was happen, she can go to her husband and say, what do you think about this before things move further? And so I think that was one of the greatest things. And she was an amazing life coach because it was the things that she was coaching me through had nothing to do with where I needed therapy for. Second, I will say, Cortina, you said something that I never even thought about, which is documentation. So, if you are a life coach or any kind of coach out there and you are documenting certain conversations, people need to understand that documentation really has no legal boundaries like therapist notes. And I don't know if whatever is that you're having these conversations about how much you want out there. And unless there are NDAs in place, which even those have some gray lines with it when, for certain things, you just have to tread real careful because identity theft is real. You don't know what's out there and how much of your information can be exploited. Coaches are not also bound not to have conversations with other people about what you've discussed, whereas clinical clinicians who are taking notes and are licensed, they have a requirement that they can't share any of your information out there. So you really have to think much broader than just saying, oh, I want to get me a life coach and I want to pay all this money. And quite frankly, honey, to me, it's cheaper to go to therapy than to have a life coach. Just saying.
Just depends on what your needs are.
Oh, I know that. I'm saying for people who seek out a life coach instead of therapy because they fear the word I'm going to therapy, because it's still, I would like to say that it's not taboo, but it really still is, especially in communities who cannot afford it.
Yeah. One of the other things to consider also is when you want to get, let's just say you've been going to a coach or whomever. When the what do you call those people? Attorneys want to subpoena records and they want a credible witness on the stand. If you want somebody to speak on your behalf, they're 9 times out of 10, they're not going to acknowledge anybody who does not have a credential. And so another thing is, if you want FMLA, short-term disability, we have the credentials to be able to complete all of those forms. So you could have been seeing someone and you're like, oh, I need my records. Do you know how many times I've had clients and they want to go back 2 years and get records and everything? Well, we are required to have our records for 7 years. Like, these are just mandates that we have to have. So guess what? Go on the computer system, print it out. You need a statement or something. Okay, you need a super bill to submit to insurance, whatever it is that you need. We have the ability, for the most part, those of us who have like for real businesses, to be able to supply you with those things. We also have a certain amount of time if you request your records that we need to have them to you, or we will get in trouble. And so I just think that people don't really know the ins and outs and how beneficial therapy can be. There are some patients that they didn't come to me for this, but during our talk, life happens. And I sometimes recommend to them, have you ever thought about taking FMLA? You don't have to take all the weeks at one time, but you can take them incrementally. I think this would be good for your emotional wellness and your mental health. But because I have the credentials, I have the ability to fill out the paperwork, get it approved. And then guess what? Some of the stress that they were feeling, they don't have to carry that anymore because they have the ability to pause and take a break. Then we fill out the short-term disability paperwork so they can still get paid while they're on break.
Yeah.
without any questions being posed or asked, or their job being at jeopardy. So I think people, they really, not saying you're trying to get over or anything, but just be really mindful about what is it that I'm looking to get out of this process. And sometimes you might have to vacillate. You might be at a place, yeah, I need me a coach. Life happens, death, something. You like, you know what? Ooh,
I need
I'm
therapy.
both of y'all. Let me go work on
Right.
this.
I see both of y'all at the same time.
If
you
you
go.
do business coaching, I can keep my business coach. That has nothing to do with me going through my grief and that process or anything like that. It doesn't mean it won't come up in the business, because it might be affecting
Well,
your business.
I'm a coach, business coach. I have not had any therapy moments in my coaching.
Well, I mean, not
all.
therapy moments, but where they bring it up, where they just mention, like, this is what I'm going through. I feel like I'm not as motivated. My attention is scattered someplace else. And you help them get back on that ball while they're doing the work with the therapist to be able to go through that grieving grief cycle to normalize that. So it's not one or the other. It can be both and. That's what I say, like with church and Jesus. You can have Jesus and a therapist. Okay.
Yes,
it's not one or the other. You can have both. And so I think it works best if we're working in tandem. But the most important thing, and Pam always says this, everyone has to know their role. But when you are not adequately trained, sometimes the roles become blurred. If you just took a 2-hour seminar on how to be a coach, or just because your child died, now you want to be a grief coach or whatever, that does not qualify you to be able to walk anybody through anything just because that's how you got through it. That may have worked for you, but what skills, what tools, what techniques have you employed that shows proof that, yes, this is a method that you can apply to your life that can help you navigate through this? It's not about healing, but, and it's, I think there are different words for those type, maybe like peer counselors, because it's your peer who's gone through the same thing, right? But are you equipped enough? Do you have the emotional intelligence to be able to coach someone in that direction? I think you have to have balance. I think you have to have emotional intelligence. You have to be in tune with people in order to be able to coach them. And you have to have some sense of people skills. I don't understand how people go into coaching or therapy and they don't even like people.
That part.
It's
that part.
I'm one of those.
That's crazy. But you're not monetizing off of it. You're not doing that. I'm talking
no. I chose to leave the field because a burnout. So I manage things differently. I am a great mentor. I can talk to people, but one of the things that I always let them know here is when you need to go to therapy, because I choose not to. I left that field for a reason, and I'm not there. Unless you're a kid, then I thought about going back because I love the kids.
Oh no,
but I wouldn't do it from a therapy standpoint. But I would do it from a psychology in terms of developmental, because that's what I was actually doing. But when you're going through intern times and getting your hours, you get an opportunity. But I was always working with kids, but there were kids with in Philly with behavioral issues in schools. And then of course the Army. And so, but that was mostly from prevention because of some of the things that I had already seen and experienced. I was like, oh, I'd rather be on the prevention side. I don't want to be on the side where, you got to deal with families who are having to try to cope with suicide and other things. The other thing that I would say is sometimes, not even sometimes, depression is real. And coaches are not always equipped to read between the lines when medication is needed, but a therapist can actually refer you to a psychiatrist to get you the medication you need to go along with your therapy. So you're just saying, and again, I'm not knocking any coach. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. My goal is for people to get help and not ignore the things that's going on in their life. Now, I will also say that if you are a business owner, have one of each, because as you are building your business, you do need a business coach. But as you are processing all of the stress and anxiety and all of those other things that come along with being in business, bow, you got your therapist. So that's that whole working in tandem thing. But at the end of the day, it's about understanding and those boundaries and breaking the barriers down that so that you can get the help that you need to be functional in a very healthy way, and not a toxic way where you're saying, I have friends for this. No, don't weigh your friends down. Go get you some therapy, process those things, and live a life of true wellness. Take care of your body, just, and take care of your mental health like you do your physical health. Now, if you ignore your physical health, then
listen, but also here's another thing. Be unafraid, even with the coaches, because there are a lot of coaches out here in different areas of coaching they have. Be unafraid to ask them for their credentials. Be unafraid to ask them what qualifies you to be a coach.
Amen.
And like, don't. Yes, I know that there's a lot of, like, they've got some 6-week programs out there that qualifies people to be a coach and this and that. Hey, you're all, you can go on Groupon and do something for an hour and pay $29.
Groupon.
Get a certification. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Absolutely. They got this, they got all kinds of stuff out there. So
hold on. You said Groupon?
Yes.
I said Groupon.
I can go get certified to be a coach on Groupon.
On Groupon for $29. So this is what I'm saying. You sound judgment. You're talking about your livelihood. You're talking about entrusting you with somebody, whether you know them or not. Be unafraid to ask for their credentials and have good judgment when it comes to you. Yes, I know you and I've been knowing you for 10 years, but that does not qualify you to be enough for what I need. Check their credit, and this doesn't necessarily mean that somebody had to go spend years in school to become a therapist or a coach or whatever that looks like, but is it paired with something? Like, is it paired with something? Did you go to college for something and then you went into this and you got certified here? Like, check the credentials, check their resume.
They got one now. Life Coach Online Certification, $4 on Groupon.
Boom.
$4.
And this is who and just to have.
There has to be some form of.
This is what people are doing. It is a scam. That's the thing.
It's not regulated though.
Oh, it's not. Yes.
It's not a scam. So because I can come up with a coaching school and certify people, who the hell is going through? It's not vetted. You just be certified by the school of Cortina.
Right.
And you can really call yourself a coach. Like therapist, psychotherapist is a protected term. Everybody cannot use that.
Mm-hmm.
Like psychiatrist, medical doctor, DO. These are not terms that people can readily use unless you've gone through it. Coach, hell, basketball coach, soccer coach, hair coach, teacher coach, life coach, voice coach, whatever type of coach. It's not a one term. It's not protected and it's not a regulated field. So hell, we can come up with the Herspiration Happy Hour coaching certification if we wanted to. Charge people. You know how most people do this? They pre-record.
Get your little EIN.
They pre-record the sessions or whatever they want to be able to talk about, and they're not even really teaching. You're just watching these on-demand videos. You finish it, take the little end of the course test. People making hand over fist and money because there's so many people that want to do it, but their real skill set is not even being tested in that format. You're not even really shadowing or being shadowed to make sure you're not doing any harm to anybody. What is it that you're telling these people? And so that's the problem with it. At one point, they were trying to regulate it, but I think it's just like, hey,
it's too far gone now.
How are we going to pull back the reins a little bit?
Right.
If you require coaches to be licensed, then there will be a lot of people leaving the field.
But so this is the thing. I do.
I'm talking like a licensed coach. I'm talking.
Yeah, there are a lot of
a regulated licensed coach. You will have a lot of people leaving the field.
I think there are a lot of people, a lot of therapists who went to coaching to get away from the regulatory standards, but they have the knowledge because it really is, your hands are tied as a clinician as to what you can and can't do during certain times. And I've thought about it.
Really?
I really like the clinical aspect of what I do, right? Coaching is not about being clinical. Therapy is about being clinical. And so that's why I do both, but I'm very clear on when, who needs what and where. And if I've already been a therapist to you, I won't be your coach.
Oh, I love that.
Because no, you fly your wings and you got to find somebody else. I have clients all the time. They're like, can you just be my coach? I can't. We've already entered this relationship as me as your clinician. Yeah. I can't like up and down it, change it, switch it, because the roles are different and I need to make sure that that's not blurred. Now, I had a client, she was like, oh my gosh, Cortina, you and all of these statutes and rules and all this other kind of stuff. I say, I know, I get it, but there are just certain things I can't do. And there's a lot of clients that I have that have, they're, oh my God, amazing. And because I'm a therapist, there's certain boundaries I can't cross. So no, I can't come do this. I can't. But if I was a coach, yeah, just sign me up. I'll be there, talk about it, do it, whatever. But as a clinician, because there's that imbalance of power that our rules and our ethics state. Do I think it works culturally for everybody? Absolutely not. Because culturally, guess what? When they were creating the rules, we were not in mind and we move differently. And so I do think that more people like us need to be sitting on the boards that are creating these rules, that are evaluating some of the complaints that come through, as long as you're not doing any harm or facilitating anything that could be used as power dynamics or anything like that. I think it's pretty cool, long as you're not, revealing any confidentiality, any confidential information or anything like that. I do think the old Caucasian individuals that set these laws and rules for the landscape we're in right now, I think they need to be revisited. So that's my only drawback when it comes to us being healers from a therapeutic standpoint and the interactions that we can have with our clients. Coach is free to do whatever the hell they want to do. So that's the upside to that. And this is the thing, if you've been working with a client on having a baby or getting married or something like that, those are huge things that people overcome and get through in their lives. Of course, the person who they spoke to the most, how honored they would be if you as a clinician accepted their invitation to be a part of that part of their life. Because if it weren't for you, they probably wouldn't be there. Well, guess what? Statutes say, no,
you can't do it.
Can't be done. But guess what? So if we're talking about culturally now, and there's some, depending on who you talk to, some people say, I'll go to the ceremony, sit in the back, but I'm not going to the reception. Or like if it's a teenager's graduation and they dropped out of school and they went back, like I think that some people don't understand the power of support from their therapist and how that speaks volumes and how healing that is to the client. I have a client right now. She said, I don't care. I'm inviting you and I hope to see you there. I say, all right, girl. I get invited to so much stuff. I don't go. But if there's only one thing that I went to from a client, but it was real ambiguous. Why? Because this was something this client thought would never happen for them. Like over it, like, oh my gosh, and I was invited. I didn't never say that I was going or anything like that. And I just showed up and oh my gosh, you would have thought I was the Pope walking through that had them raised from the dead or whatever. And I was like, okay, girl, keep it on, And I just showed my face and then I left. That's what you do. But guess what? That will leave a lasting impression with her. No harm was done. Nobody knew. I mean, there's other people there, unless, they told or whatever. But I felt so fulfilled by being able to give her that.
Yeah.
I love it. So, ladies, we have hit the top of the hour already. And I love
Yes.
this. I mean, I love these conversations. This is just a month of healing, and we need to take advantage of that healing. And so, um, let everybody know where to find you from, and then drop just a little tidbit that, to help someone who might be questioning, like, hey, this is what I need help with, or what would you recommend to someone as they move forward in this month of healing. Shay, where can everybody find you at, and what tip do you have?
You can find me on Instagram at The Coach of Courage or at www.thecoachofcourage.com. My tip is actually going to be directed to the coaches. Get coached. Get in partnership with being coached through what it is that you feel that you've been called to do. Be equipped, be credentialed in accredited places and spaces. Align yourself properly so that you can show good stewardship over what you feel that you've been called to.
Okay. And Diana.
I can be reached at Diana Richardson Philippus on Instagram, and some other places, as well as DianaRichardsonPhilippus.com. I will definitely say a tidbit for the month, and there's so much said. My brain is like just all over the place, but you guys just be gentle with yourself. Listen to yourself, acknowledge yourself, and trust your instincts.
And Dr. Lewis.
One of the things that, you can find me on the Girlfriend Therapist. I don't know if you can see social media platforms, and at the Noir Center, the NOIR Center, on social media platforms as well. And what I would say is, if you're looking for healing in whatever way, ask for help. You don't have to find it alone. There's people out there that'll be able to help you and guide you and point you in the right direction for what it is that you need, because we don't always know what we need.
Yeah.
But being unafraid to be able to say, hey, I'm dealing with something. I don't know if I need a spiritual healer, a shaman, a therapist, a pastor, a minister, hands laid, a therapist. I don't know what I need, but this is what I'm going through. Don't be afraid to ask for help so that you can be put in contact with the people that are positioned to be able to help you.
Amen.
All right. And you can find me on all social media platforms at IAMDRPGURLEY. I am Dr. P. Gurley. I think the tip that I will have is to give yourself grace and don't ignore the signs. And treat your mental health like you do your physical health. Whether it's this month, next month, or months from now, you have one life, you have one body. And if you don't take care of it, including your mind, it will not take care of you. So I definitely leave that with everyone. Thank you, ladies, so much for the conversation. I hope you all enjoyed this conversation. And this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we might come back with a different topic for next week, same time and same place. But have a great weekend, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, because this Sunday is Mother's Day, isn't it? It's Mother's Day weekend.
Yes, ma'am. Cortina, get it together. She looked at me right. Yes. Happy Mother's Day, ladies.
Yes, so happy Mother's Day to all the moms, because this Sunday is Mother's Day weekend. No, it's Mother's Day weekend, but it is Mother's Day on Sunday. Cortina don't even really, she didn't know, and she's a mom. My bad.
I like Mother's Day.
We here already, because that's new news to me.
You either?
You didn't know it was Mother's Day either?
Mm-mm.
I cannot.
Well, I just found out last week, Pam, when you said something at the end of the podcast. I didn't even realize that it was Mother's Day weekend, but now I know. So
I thought it was next weekend.
No, ma'am.
It's on Sunday. It's on Sunday. And so I hope you ladies have a really great and phenomenal Mother's Day, whether you are relaxing and the kids are gone, or you are spending time with the family. I hope these memories are very intentional, because like I said, life is short. and make memories and put your phone down and just enjoy the family. So you'll see us back here the same time, same place next Wednesday. And as we always say, cheers.
Cheers.
This is Herspiration Happy Hour.